The King, the Princess, and the Tinker by Kindt, McKenzie, illustrated by William Lowe. Chapter 7. What Jack the Tinker Found. At that very moment, the coach jounced into and out of a deep hole in the road. There was a terrible bump. King John's crown flew from his head, and worse than that, his teeth came together with such a clack that he bit his tongue. King John let out so loud a roar with the pain of it that the horses were frightened and set off at the gallop. Nothing but dust was left to come into the eyes of Jack and the 5,000 foot soldiers. The general, as blinded by dust as the soldiers, heard the horses go at the gallop and gave the order that the foot soldiers, too, go at the gallop in their new boots. They must keep up with the royal coach. In less than 5 minutes, all had passed. Jack rubbed the dust from his own eyes and blinked. Lo and behold, there at his feet lay the king's crown. "What a wonderful piece of metal this is!" Jack cried. "Surely as fine as any I've ever seen. Can it be a broken kettle of some sort?" He rubbed it on his sleeve to wipe away the little bit of dust. A little of the dust. "Oh my, what pretty beads are set in it! But I can't imagine its use, it's so full of holes." He turned it in his hand. "It must be all that is left from somebody's favorite pot. The cook has used it so much that she has burnt the bottom from it and scraped the sides to a jagged edge. Even I could never repair it. Finally, he said, 'Old pot or whatever it is, it's just what I need to set off my new hat.'" Jack slipped the crown, dusty as it was, over the peak of his hat. It nestled in among the flowers and the ferns, and it was somewhat covered by the gently nodding weeds gone to seed. He settled the hat firmly back on his head and turned to gaze in wonder after the cloud of dust, now far down the road. It was then that the tinker heard a child crying. There by the side of the road sat a little girl. She, too, was covered with dust. Her face was streaked from mopping away her tears with her grubby hands. "Here, here," said kindly Jack, taking out his handkerchief. "Your face is leaking, and Jack the Tinker is the best fixer of leaks you've ever known. Wipe your eyes and blow your nose and tell me all your troubles." The child wiped her eyes and blew her nose and thanked him politely. "I am sweet Rosilla," she told him. "It is my birthday and I wanted to see the world. When no one was looking, I climbed on the back of my father's coach. It was dreadfully bumpy, and I had to pay so much attention to holding on that I scarcely saw anything. Then we hit the most dreadful bump of all. My father was so angry and shouted so loud that he frightened the horses, and they leaped ahead at the gallop, and I lost my hold and fell off. And now how am I going to get home in time for my birthday party?" Jack could tell that Rosilla's story was quite true, for he had 7 children of his own and always knew when they were telling the truth. "Oh, sweet Rosilla," said Jack, "we must follow your father at once. Surely he will be heartbroken when he learns that you are lost. And of course we must get you home in time for your birthday party." Jack put her on his shoulder and set out at once, his long legs carrying them quickly down the road. The princess prattled in his ear. She told him that the soldiers were not a parade, but were there to guard the royal coach and the king who rode in it. She said she feared that the soldiers might scuff their boots, for they were running so fast. For that, she whispered, they would be beheaded. Jack the Tinker listened in wonder and strode even more quickly down the road. By now the line of soldiers had vanished. In no time at all, Jack and the princess rounded a bend in the road. Astonished, Jack stopped. Lined up at the ford of the river, 5 abreast in rows 1,000 feet long and stretching as far as the eye could see, were the foot soldiers. The general, his face distressed, paced back and forth in front of them. There was no sign of the royal coach. And that's the end of chapter 7.